360 albums, Tourney. Gene Clark, no other, against Hman's Chair, a loner. I think that's the name of Hman's Chair. It's not on brand if I remember both names without checking. Let's check. A loner. Stout. Maker's Mark DNA is the pour for this matchup. So my buddy James Jackson Toth submitted Gene Clark, and probably my buddy Lars from Germany submitted Hman's Chair, but possibly Mark's Middle Minute. Let's start with Gene Clark, no other. I didn't know who Gene Clark was. I thought he was a country music guy. I knew it wasn't Gene Autry, but I'm not sure who I mixed him up with. But I thought he was a traditional country musician. Gary Clark, is there a Gary Clark? I don't know, doesn't matter. He's from the Byrds, BYRDS, and I didn't look up when this album was released. I'm guessing late 60s, early 70s. You know, it's got a variety of songs on it. It's a very interesting album. Strength of Strings is my favorite song on the album. It gets stuck in my head a lot, and that's a song that I could see Opeth or Dwal or any other prog, doomy, leaning metal band covering, and would be exceptional. There's hints of some Buffalo Springfield or Neil Young from time to time. Even a shade of Pink Floyd. There are elements of country. I'm not really familiar with the Byrds catalog. I think they're out of California, but I don't even know. But I've really enjoyed this album. It's going up against Hman's Chair. And Lincoln Hawk says that I've got to get over my mental bias for some of these matchups. And Hman's Chair is a metal album. It leans towards, for me at least, the softer end of the metal spectrum. Of course, I drink barrel-proof bourbon, so what might be a stout bourbon for one person isn't as much for me, and it's the same way with metal. What's really heavy for somebody else isn't really for me, but what's not heavy for me could be really heavy for someone that's not into metal. But this is an interesting album. Couldn't put my finger on it a bit. I listened to both these albums quite a bit over the past week and a half. This was a very, very difficult matchup for me. I finally figured out today, Pallbearer, they reminded me at times of a softer, less doomy Pallbearer, Hman's Chair, but also reminds me of the goth poppier moments on October Rust by Typo Negative, an album that's already been bounced by Dwal. But I really want to listen to both of these albums even more. I'm not finished with them. One album's advancing right now, and that's going to be Gene Clark's No Other. I just really want to dive in, and this is the kind of album might really take off and make some noise in the 360 albums tournament. But remember, there's going to be 19 albums that get eliminated in this round that are going to get reinserted, because I'm going to go, instead of from 90 to 45, we're going to stretch it out to 64, and I'll talk about that more later. And I could see Hman's Chair being one of those in there. Jim Ford, I know for sure, is going to be one of the ones included in those 19. So anyway, let me know. Do you know much about the Byrds? You like the Byrds? You like Gene Clark? Have you listened to Hman's Chair? Yeah, and I've not said the full word of what Hman is, because I know how the old algorithm censorship works. So whatever, it dilutes it down, but you can look at the pictures and dial it up and enjoy the album. It's very good. I don't think many people make it this far in the videos. If so, if you're having something to drink, tell me what you're having, and throw up a horns emoji afterwards. And I appreciate you watching this far. Although I know some people will do that little scroll thing towards the end. They'll be like, what's the taste man picking? Leave out the fluff. All right, cheers. Gene Clark's Silver Raven reminds me of Wayfaring Strangers. Wayfaring Strangers. 16 horsepower's Wayfaring Stranger. Supreme by H-Man's Chair reminds me of October Rust. An Ode to Breakdown by H-Man's Chair reminds me of Paul Bearer.